Hey, good morning. It's Monday again. I hope you missed us. I'm Tina Frank, and I'm one of your hosts, and this is my lovely co-host.
Hi. Well, hello, everyone. Like losing my words there for a second.
It's Monday.
Bonnie,
What are you going to do?
it's totally Monday, and I've only had one cup of coffee. So
Ah,
this is Bonnie Violet here. Glad to be here.
that's so funny. I usually it's me who's caught off guard, but that's why
Right?
I caught myself dancing to the music as our intro played. It's like I really like that song. I have it running through my head once in a while through the week, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
nice.
So, hey, how was your weekend? You had lots of
Um,
fun stuff going on, I remember.
yeah, it was a busy weekend. I like it was so full. Like it's been the busiest I've been in a while, which is great. I mean,
That
this
is
morning I did
awesome.
not want to wake up. I kept hitting snooze. I'm like, girl, you have to get into face. Like, you ain't got time for that. So,
That's
but it was
funny.
really great. There was a trans retreat this weekend called Transcend, and it was
Oh,
for trans and gender nonconforming folks.
was
And
that online or was it in a location close to you?
yeah, it ended up being virtual because, COVID.
Yeah, yeah,
And
COVID.
so it definitely made it a little bit different than what I had anticipated. I got to do a workshop on Sunday where we discussed how to lace our narrative with
Oh,
with a spiritual thread.
that sounds
Um,
amazing.
yeah, so we just basically kind of like looked back through our lifespan and um, tried to understand what our understanding was of spirituality at that time in our lives, when it changed, how it changed, why it changed, when you saw it, when you didn't see it. Just
Wow.
yeah,
You
and
did
it
all
was.
that in one weekend?
I know, and we only did that in like 60 minutes. So
Oh my goodness.
part of it was just to give like a little taste. I have intentions of doing. I'm working on doing like probably a 6 week course
Oh, that would
where
be
we would
awesome.
get together once a week, and then we'd go through, and like the first week we'd talk about like our origins, what were we taught growing up,
Gotcha.
that sort of stuff. And then kind of like then the next week going into like, when did that change? Why did it change? If it changed, that sort of thing. So we can, and like during the week, each person would just write about it and think about it. And then they would be able to share it the next week. So there's an opportunity to not only recall it and see it in our minds, but also then to write it, and then also for us to speak it.
Oh,
Um,
that's awesome.
and ultimately probably seeing spirituality or God at play in times when maybe we didn't. And I think that ultimately changes our narrative, um,
Yeah.
and causes us to walk a little different in the world, maybe with
Yeah.
our head up a little higher.
That's good. That sounds amazing, actually. And I know that for me, I journal, and that's what you're talking about, right? It was a journal, or was it just
Yeah, we did.
a guide?
It was just because it was a smaller group, we went ahead and just said what came to our mind.
Gotcha,
But
gotcha.
ideally it would be like journaling and really diving deep.
Yeah. See, I love to journal, and you're right with all those things that you just said, because it really helps me to put things in perspective. And it's funny, if you ever read my journals, you'll see random stuff in there, like questions I ask myself. You'll see me answer the questions myself, sometimes in the next line, sometimes in 3 pages over. But it really helps me to assess me personally. It helps me to have peace, because sometimes I get things all up in my head, and it goes and goes and goes, and I can't do anything. I get anxious. And I find if I write that down, it helps with that. But and one of the points you just said, it really helps me to see, no matter what crazy is happening in my life, that there's a blessing tied up in all that. And
Mhm.
what's the good thing, the positive thing, because it just calms me down just enough. It gives me just enough pause that I can actually start to see some of those things. So that is an amazing exercise. I'm sure that's just a small part of what you were doing, but that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it was just a very small part, but yeah, it's I'm excited to get to dive more into it. In a lot of ways, it's just kind of been more theory, and like I'm trying to find a way to take my experience and help move people through a similar space,
That sounds
as
awesome.
well as continue to like dive deeper for myself.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things I'm really puzzled about is like, I want to know more about like what came before us. Like I want to know more about like grandma and like what her life was like growing up. And I got a chance to talk with her actually was it last Thanksgiving that I was at your house or the one before that? But it was
I
last
think it
year,
was
right?
last year. Yeah. Yeah.
Last Thanksgiving, I got to sit with grandma and hear all kinds of stories about
Yeah.
her growing up and ask her some of those questions, which were really great. But I just feel like my history only goes so
So
far. And
far.
I feel like sometimes I have people in my life who they know their lineage from so far down the line, and
Mm.
like their spirituality is such a big part of their like culture and their family, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I kind of was realizing like, what is mine? And why don't we tell our stories more, like in our particular family or whatever? And I
Yeah.
think I think it's because there's a lot of trauma and a lot of sadness and stuff that I think hasn't been maybe talked about, or I don't know what it is. But
That
I
may,
feel like, huh?
I said you could be right. I think, and sometimes we don't want to offend anybody either by asking them a question that may make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know for years, like my grandma Bonnie, which is one of my namesakes, like I've always wanted to, because when she died so young, when I was like 2, like I've always wanted to like know more about her, but I've always
Mm.
felt nervous talking with my father about her because that's his mother who passed away. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm always just afraid, again, kind of tiptoeing around, not wanting to um, cause somebody to think about or reflect on something that they might not want to. Um,
Yeah. I get it. I think sometimes though that reflection is good and healthy, and kind of like your exercise about journaling. I think can help us to focus on the good things. You know,
yeah,
'Cause I'm sure your dad
definitely.
has some amazing memories of his mom growing
Right.
up, and with his brother and his sisters. And I don't know. I would I would encourage you to continue to maybe think about engaging him in that conversation. I think that'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, he might actually be like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting. I've been waiting.
Maybe.
Because that's the way grandma was too. When I asked
Yeah.
grandma, I was like, I want to know more. And she's like, yeah, really? Like, I love that. I want to tell you more.
Yeah.
So,
She loves sharing stories. And I think some of the pictures that we put up have that, but I have some more pictures of mom, some of the ones that she left here. Back in the day, they didn't have cameras like we do now. So
mhm.
pictures were few and far between. But I have a few. I'll see if I can find some with my mom in there, or maybe my dad in there, from when they were young, and I'll post them up. But
Mm.
yeah, yeah, that's cool. Mom would love to tell you some more stories. She has lots of great
Yeah.
ones.
I
Lots of
love
great ones.
hearing that. I think history is really important, and it just helps I think it helps you to be more grateful,
Mm,
and to kind of understand your place in the world, if you will. Because I think, I don't know, I think it's helpful for me to know where I land, what happened before, so that I could be the way that I am, and then what then can I do so that the people ahead of me can have a different experience as well too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Someone once shared that each generation, as we grow, is creates a foundation for the next generation, and I thought that was pretty amazing
hmm,
because we don't want to. And I know I've as a mom and as a grandma, I don't want to dictate what my kids are doing, but I want to create a space where they can have as much as they need, as much opportunity that I can give them to do the thing that they love. I used to pray. I still pray actually for my kids that they would never be stuck doing something that they hate.
hmm,
Because I look at my own life and I've done lots of things I don't enjoy over the years just to survive. And I'm sure you have done that too. And I'm sure my kids have done that too to this point. But I thought that was really cool. And it comes to the forefront of my mind. What am I doing today to help build a foundation so that my kids can use it as a springboard? Because a foundation is flexible a little bit. Even your house foundation, it's a springboard, so it can cushion you as you walk and do all those things. So if I can create a foundation that's going to work as a springboard for my kids to move forward to what they're supposed to be doing, their purpose, then that's mission accomplished. And they're them the same.
hmm.
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
But I think it's important. I mean, I think it's important too to like to tell your kids what your story was, because
Absolutely.
otherwise we don't know, like we don't necessarily know what it took for us to be where we're at, you know. And I think it just
Exactly.
provides a little bit more context.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think there needs to be more of that going on. I wonder
Yeah.
why that's stopped. That used to be the thing that people did, and I don't think it
Mm.
is as prevalent anymore.
Well, I think it feels like there's not like the need to do it like we once had
Maybe.
to, you know, because so many things are documented or whatever. But, you know, a lot of folks who tend to have more storytelling are folks who are more marginalized in community. So I feel like
Right.
maybe like that's the only way that their stories can continue, um, because they're not written about in history books, and they're not written about they're not shown in TVs and movies. And I think maybe to some degree we've kind of like resigned to the idea, oh, like, well, our narratives are already out there. But that's not really the reality of it either, right?
No, it's not. And even the Word of God says that we're supposed to tell our story
Hmm.
from generation to generation to generation,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
so we need to be doing that.
there's so much power in that. We talked about that this weekend, a lot of storytelling stuff, and it's just like, you know, it's our testimony is how like people would
Yep.
say it in church, you know,
Yep.
testify, you know, share what God is doing in your life, share what you were creating, share what you've accomplished, share what you're struggling with, you know. that's
Absolutely.
that's how we identify with one another. And we there's just so much we can do to help one another too when we're able to do that. It helps me put words to my experience,
Yep.
that kind of adds clarity. And it also then oftentimes helps other people imagine or think of or know they're not alone in whatever's kind of going on in their life or what they would like to be going on in their life.
Right. I agree with you. It also gives us an opportunity to encourage someone, and to receive wisdom from people around us who have maybe already gone through what we're going through. But if we aren't willing to share, then that doesn't allow us the opportunity to have access to that.
Yeah,
So yeah. So it sounds like you had a great weekend at your retreat.
I did. How about you? What were you up to?
Saturday I worked, so that doesn't count.
It doesn't
But
count.
it doesn't count. But yesterday it was awesome. I went to church as I do on Sunday mornings, and I got to have a couple of my girls over, and some of my grandkids, and the neighbor came over, and we did one of those painting projects. I don't know if you've ever done an art and sip or one of those places before COVID where you could go into a place and have dinner and have a glass of wine if you wanted to and do a paint. Someone would show you how to paint this beautiful picture.
Uh-huh.
And we found a young lady that we like to watch that does all that live. So we yesterday did a live with her, and we all painted a Christmas tree. I have mine. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, I would love to see it.
I'm not a great painter, but my one daughter is an artist, so she helped me with some glitter. But let me see if I can make it look right. There we go. So there's my Christmas tree with my shadow on the bottom and my supposedly glow at the top. But hey, it's awesome. I'll hang it in my is one of my Christmas decorations this year. So kind of fun.
It looks gorgeous.
Yeah, mine looks really great when it's by itself, but it was next to Andrea's, my oldest daughter. It does not look so great.
She's the artist, right?
She's the artist.
That looks fantastic.
But yeah, so it's fun. So as long as I don't hang it next to Andrea's, I'm good.
You're good. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll post some pictures of all of theirs on our Facebook after we're done, so you guys can see them. And you can see. I'll see if I can blow Andrea's up so you guys can see it really well. So she's so funny. All her little ornaments are circular, exactly the same size, or perfect circles. I'm like, oh, whatever. But we had a great time. Spent the afternoon eating junk food and just being able to just interact with one another and enjoy one another. Small groups now because of COVID. So just a few of us, and we had a great time.
Yeah. I had an experience too where like I was around people. I got to go to a live drag show. It was very fun. It was very small, and there was lots of distance between things, and everyone was wearing the mask, including the queens. You know, they had the face shields over their beautiful makeups. And it was kind of nice just to kind of be out and just doing some things that I'd done before and kind of just be around people, even though there was lots of distance between us. It was just nice to kind of be in that same space.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Did they have a lot of queens there for you to look at and to engage with?
Yeah. I mean, there was probably, I think, like 10 or 11 numbers that were done, which
that's wonderful.
maybe, yeah. So there was probably about 9 or so. I think one of the artists did like 2 performances, but it was really great. It was a good time.
Awesome. It's good to get out of the house sometimes, huh? Especially right now. And you're in an area where you're on a specifically hard lockdown, aren't you?
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, San Francisco, we've been really, we've been extra careful from the get-go. We were one of the first cities to really kind of like do a shelter in place. And we've been fairly, I don't know, we've just been really, as much as can, we've pulled away as much as possible. And our numbers, you know, like California is hit really, really hard, but we're not hit at the same level as the rest of the state. So we're doing relatively well in comparison to other places. But yeah, I mean, it's still, COVID is still alive and more of it is happening all around us. And, you know, I mean, I hear more about it from people not here though. You know, I have a friend in Idaho who actually went to the hospital and now has like secondary pneumonia related to COVID.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Which, and an ex of mine, which I was surprised to see that it went to that degree, because there's a lot of folks, you know, because most people are going to be fine. You know, you're going to get sick and you're going to get over it and you'll be okay. Some people might get sick and then kind of have it, because my buddy Jake, who passed away a month or so ago from cancer, he had gotten COVID back in like February when he was in the hospital. And then he kind of got over it. But then like I think August again or July, he actually kind of had had to go back into the hospital and was on a ventilator for a little bit in response to COVID. I'm sure him being on chemo and having cancer probably, played a lot into all of that. But yeah,
I'm so sorry. It's been a roller coaster ride for sure. All of the COVID stuff, all the changes. I don't know. We've had a hard time trying to interpret what we are actually supposed to be doing and not doing. So we've kind of picked one place to just get all that information from and just live and honor that authority that's in place over us. So we've been doing that. It's definitely been interesting. I feel like we got a little bit more lax here because remember I'm in Arizona, and so our kids are all still in school. I know some of those places aren't having their kids go to school, and we're doing some of those things. But I don't know. Our numbers are all over the chart, so we just kind of focus in on our responsibilities, those around us, be safe, and just pray a lot. Pray a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think I wish there was more of the narrative about. I think it's important for people to understand the severity of that, like, and the potential of what Corona could really do to our country, but also to also speak to the fact that you can live and you can be okay, because I've seen so many of my friends who have gotten COVID from around the country, and they have moments where they just freak out. They think they're going to die because they're having some sort of symptom. And it's like, it's got to be really scary, because it does probably feel like, oh my God, I got it. I'm going to die, which is different from the flu. If you get the flu, you're like, okay, I got the flu. But I think, I mean, I don't know. I think that's something that would be better if there was just a little bit more narratives about things, and harm reduction is, I think, the best way. I've worked in disease for so long, disease prevention.
So I'm not sure that this is all being handled correctly. I'm not in a position where I can do anything about that, but I'm just not. I don't know. I feel like it's serious. Don't get me wrong. It's a serious thing. We all need to be aware. We all need to be doing our part. But I'm not sure that we need to focus only on the fear points. So, like you just said, someone gets it. Oh my gosh! They go straight to, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. Well, would hope that wouldn't be everyone's first first response. It's kind of like cancer. That's the first thing you
Yeah.
think is I'm going to die. So if we can work past that initial fear, and I don't feel like the narrative has done that. It just wants to
Yeah.
continue to put fear in everybody. And it's like, come on, we gotta be cautious. We got to do our part. We got to be responsible, but we also need to not walk in fear, because at the end of the day, I don't know, in my opinion only, I feel like it's just a matter of time that we're all going to eventually be exposed, no matter how much we stay in our houses. Hopefully it'll be after they've got a viable shot or vaccine for it, but maybe not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
We
worked
just have to be
I've worked in
responsible.
disease prevention for so long, at like working in HIV, that I know like the CDC or whatever, they're going to recommend kind of the extreme of things. It's kind of like when
Yeah.
you take a medication and it tells you you might die. You might die, but
Yeah.
it's like a like degree
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like the CDC or people who are really big on on like prevention of disease, they're gonna take it as far as they
To the
can,
end. Yeah. Yeah. No,
because
I
they're
think you're right.
right, and then you're dealing with millions of people who we all have our own ideas, all have our own understandings. There's also like just things in life where sometimes you end up having to go to work, or you're unable to wear a mask. Like my mom is unable to wear a mask because like causes breathing problems for her, so she's
Yeah.
not able to wear a mask for very long. So there's times when she's not able to wear masks, but it's like everyone is kind of coming up with their own response to what's happening right now. And I don't think anyone has any ill intentions. There's just a lot of things happening all at once.
I agree. And, and how does it matter? But has your mom had any issues going in and out of places just because she cannot wear a mask?
From what I understand, she hasn't had any issues.
Oh,
I know
good.
that at work, she at least has to wear like a shield.
Mm-hmm.
Because she just can't, because of the breathing.
Yeah.
She's not able to wear a mask. So, but because she works in a school, she does have to wear
The shield.
the shield.
Here, it's amazing to me because, I mean, if I'm in a supermarket because I have to be there to buy groceries or whatever, and I see someone without a mask, I feel like I have a choice to make. I don't know. Maybe that person has a physical reason they can't be wearing a mask. I don't know that I should be approaching them to chastise them for not wearing a mask because I don't know their situation. I don't know if the store has a right to say, no, you can't shop in here. And if that's the only way they know how to get groceries, or they can get groceries, then that's limiting. So this is just really a challenging thing, just the mask.
Mm-hmm.
So I wear my mask, but every place I go, I see no entry without mask. And so as you share your story with your mom, I'm like, oh my goodness, she would not maybe have access to the same places that I do then because she physically can't wear a mask.
Yeah. And again, yeah, it's relative to where she's at. Yeah. If she was in a major city or something, it might be a little bit harder
story. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's the big thing too. It's just like, we're like, the United States is diverse and it's just as different everywhere. So, I mean, I feel like there really needs to be more localized responses. Some cities maybe do need a shutdown and other cities are fine, and try to cut down some of the travel or whatever, if the infections are really high in one area, rather than being like, okay, there's a spot in, say, one place in the state, so we're going to like shut down the whole state or that sort of thing.
I think so. I agree with you. And I think that just COVID's not just the only thing. I agree. I think that should happen too. But it's like, oh my goodness. So yeah. So cool. So do you have plans for the rest of this week? I know it's kind of a holiday week for all of us. So you got anything special? Any more retreats or something special coming up?
No, nothing out of the norm. It's just going to be kind of a regular week for me. I think I'm going to maybe go to Oakland and have dinner with a friend of mine and his husband.
That'll be fun.
But I'm debating on whether or not I'll do that or not. So I have an option to do something, or I'll just chill at home and, I don't know, call family and stuff.
Yeah. We're going to call family too.
How about, what are you doing?
Well, we're still working through that. Normally, we get together for Thanksgiving dinner, which we're still going to do that. We just got to see what that looks like. I've always hosted in the past, and we have everybody over to my house for dinner, and we have a very large family, so that was an adjustment because we usually have about 25 people in my backyard. So we'll be limiting that, and it'll be just family, not any extras. One of my daughters did get COVID. So it's been a few weeks ago. She's passed all that. Her and her family all got COVID. And so they've just now gotten, I don't know, clear is the right word for that,
Right.
but they've done their quarantine. They're back to work. They're doing all their normal things again. And there's still some folks in our family that's uneasy having them come for dinner. So that's just it's just different, we're working through it. So they're probably not going to come for dinner. So we may have a couple other dinners lined up at different locations so that everyone can participate. So, I've really been, I'm real guilty of being a very traditional person, and I enjoy the tradition, and I want it to be the same every year, and I want to, do all that stuff. And so for me, it's been a challenge, one, to not host, because that was the first thing. And I had, my kids are older. They want to start being participate in all this stuff. So I need to be willing to step aside. So that was weird, not bad, but weird. And then with all the first time I'm not hosting, all this extra dynamics happening, it's just been really interesting. So thank goodness we're all easygoing, and we're all just doing small gatherings like we had yesterday of different things so that we can all celebrate. And of course, on Thanksgiving Day, we'll all call or Zoom or whatever that looks like.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting to see if any of our traditions change for the holidays because of all this. So, and not bad, but different. So, but different can be good, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, and what a great problem to have, huh? All your family are mad that maybe they can't be in the same room together. I mean,
I know that's weird. That's not the norm. That is
usually,
true.
Yeah, usually it's a challenge to get everybody to want to be in the same room sometimes.
That is true. So we do enjoy hanging out together. I'm really blessed in that regard. So yeah.
Yeah, holidays can be really complicated for some folks,
They can.
And
hard.
Yeah, I mean, especially like if you have, I know like a lot of queer folks sometimes have a hard time being around family just because.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, just because the holidays happen so regularly too, like some people may have had a loss, like it's a grieving time because it reminds them of, a time with their husband that isn't with them anymore, or there was an accident that happened around Christmas, or those sorts of things, or and sometimes some of the holidays aren't really celebrated by everyone, and some of the folks who aren't celebrating that also might actually feel some sort of way about that too,
Yeah. So how do you respond to all that? Is there a line that needs to be drawn? Well, how does how do you manage all that?
I think it's just important to realize that that we're not, there's not one narrative, there's not one there's not and everyone's different. It's like just to say, it's kind of like when George Floyd was brutalized and he died, and like there was all the Black Lives Matter stuff out in the news and stuff. I know for me, I have a lot of friends who are Black, and I'm like in a lot of different communities, and I felt like, okay, what do I do as a white person? What do I say? What don't I do? And I've been in relationship with people enough to know that there's not one answer. You're gonna just like any situation, you're gonna have a friend who you need to call them and say, hey, I love you, I'm thinking of you. Is there anything I can do for you? And then there are other people that you're just gonna like give them their space, and you're not gonna bring anything up about it. There are other people that would love to see you post things on Facebook or Twitter or whatever about helping people understand what what it's all about for them. And so I think it's just important to never never expect that everybody is having the same experience. Not everyone's going to be excited about Thanksgiving or a holiday. And even if they are, it might be for a lot of different reasons. So I think it's just really important to be more people-centered. Like, don't make assumptions.
Yeah, I agree. It was funny. I was walking this morning with my neighbor. She's from Canada, and we were talking about, and she had they canceled their Thanksgiving plans here, just because they weren't comfortable because too many people were going to be in one place. And she's like, but it doesn't matter because we have a different Thanksgiving. I had Thanksgiving in Canada in October before I came down here. Yeah.
Yep.
So she's like, so I kind of had it. She says, so I can make turkey at home. So I was just laughing. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you guys have a different Thanksgiving than we do. So yeah. So it was fun talking to her, just sharing her experience and sharing about her Thanksgiving that she had in October. She's from Lebanon. And so they have a Lebanese Thanksgiving in Canada because they're Canadian also. So she's a Canadian-born Lebanese. I think that's the correct way to say it. Beautiful, beautiful woman. Teaching me to cook some Lebanese food. I'm very excited about. Nice. Yeah, because I like to eat good food. I don't care where it comes from. And she's just really a sweetheart. But yeah, that's a good point. So she doesn't do Christmas either. So she'll be back in Canada for Christmas, but she says their family still, because it's a day that's been set aside for most everybody that they know for Christmas, they still get together as a family and do some fun things together. So I thought that was cool.
Well, I have a different, also, I mean, it's so weird because, and it's kind of speaking a little bit about some of the history or narratives, like Thanksgiving has become a little different from my understanding. When I grew up, I learned about the Pilgrims and the cowboys and the Indians, and it was this kind of like beautiful story. But like in kind of looking back at history now and kind of looking at what was going on, like that's really not, I mean, it's not an accurate portrayal of like what was going on potentially, and like, you know what I mean, like, so I think it's a little and so it's like, okay, and maybe it's a great holiday still to get together and to have gratitude and be thankful, but to wrap it in like a story about the Pilgrims and the Indians is probably not, that's not something I do anymore. A few years ago I actually was at the Dakota Access Pipeline while they were doing the protests, and I actually went there for this holiday and just was of service the whole time, which was quite the experience, just to go and like help be of service to this space and kind of just hear a little bit about how people just have a different experience with things, I've learned a lot. I don't know, that was such an interesting trip because, if you're just in kind of like some context for me, was like, I was really blown away by the idea that we were invited to be in a space that was theirs. And a lot of us just represent a community of people who have caused so much harm to them for so long, to Native Americans. And it was interesting that we were still invited, and that we were in that space, and how that would have had to been for, like, I couldn't imagine sitting at the table with a person who like beat me up last week or something, or stole from me or whatever. And so I don't know, it just takes a lot, I think, I don't know, there's just so much I've come to understand and become made more aware of as I've gotten older. And it just causes you to kind of think about, okay, why is it that I'm doing this thing?
Isn't that kind of what we're asking people to do, though?
Exactly.
Is come to the table. Looks like we have a few comments on the site. I don't know if you saw them or not.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's all good. But yeah, I was just thinking that. That's exactly what we're asking people to do, to sit at the table, because we have talked about before, everyone has their own experience, their own I don't know how to still say it, their own experiences that they've had with the people around them. And then to be able to come to a place where they can, one, be vulnerable, and two, forgive, and three, to desire a relationship. Those are all hard steps.
Yeah.
They're all hard steps, and I get it, and we get it. Both of us get it, and we encourage it anyway because we understand the fruit behind it. Those hard steps, but yeah. So it's a good reminder of what it takes to sit across from someone that you may or may not share anything with, that you may have already had conflict with, or that you know that you're not headed in the same direction with. It's not easy, but sometimes we still have to come to the table.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting balance too. Like if you're representative of a person who has been harmful to the other, then it's about how can I show up and not be harmful in the same way, right?
Right.
And then if you are a person that's harmed, you have to be willing to show up and trust and hope that they're going to act different.
Right.
And maybe if they do act the same, maybe there's a way to talk about how that action is causing you to feel, so that you're able to then kind of like both be on the same page. So then you can kind of decide, okay, where do we go from here? Is this an action I could not take in order to help somebody I want to be at the table to be more comfortable? Or is this like, nah, I'm not willing to do that, and then you can make a decision, because there unfortunately there are probably some tables that you might not need to go to.
Well, I'm a.
I know it's
bad. I'm a person that I think forgiveness is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness moves us forward, and people can choose not to forgive you or not to say, you can ask for forgiveness if you need to do that, and people can choose not to forgive you. That's on them. But I think for us as people, as individuals, I think we need to constantly be forgiving those around us, no matter how hard or crass it is. And so, if I get an opportunity to sit at a table and show forgiveness, then I would encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a negative encounter. Because if we don't show forgiveness to those people around us who've never been willing to show it also, they're never going to figure it out. I'll share a quick story if you don't mind.
Oh, go for it.
I have an incredible people in my life, and I'm married to an amazing guy. And there was a time when the people around us thought that we weren't supposed to be together, that we didn't interact properly together, and that he didn't always say nice, loving, and kind things to me, and I didn't always respond well back to him. And I kept trying to fix it, by saying, I need you to say this to me, or I need you to not say this to me, or this makes me feel this way. And because of his personality and where he's from, he was having a hard time with all that emotion because he's not an emotional type of a person. Mm-hmm. And so I had to find it within myself to, okay, you know what? I need to just let this be, and I need to work on me, because there's nothing more I can do. So I prayed for him, because I'm a praying woman. I believe there's power in prayer, and I prayed for him. I prayed for myself. But when I prayed, I said, Lord, you need to help me to change, to help me to not be as emotional about all these things, and to always treat him with lovingness and kindness. I also asked God to help me not to always apologize for the two of us, because we had no filter, it seemed. Well, sure. Long story short, we were at a social gathering, and there was a conversation that we had that should probably not have been had in a public place. That was not edifying to us or the people around us, and someone called us out. And so of course I was mortified and embarrassed, but he had no idea there was a problem, because he had never had anyone interact with him outside of the two of us. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so had I ran interference and tried to get in front of that and stop it from happening, then we may still have the same problem. Mm-hmm. And so that was not an easy pill for him to swallow. That was not comfortable. He had to decide if he was going to be offended by this person. He had to decide if we wanted to engage with these people anymore. We had to work through a whole lot of things, and it wasn't anything major. but it was something important, but it was going to hinder us moving forward. Once we both realized a few things, we were able to, one, have a conversation together, discuss some of the things that we were feeling at that moment, and then move forward from that. So I'm a big proponent of, okay, this is going to be uncomfortable. It might even be a real negative thing, but I am going to come to this table because it's been set forth in front of me, and I'm going to go.
Right. No, and I totally hear that. I guess I just wanted to leave space for, sometimes people aren't physically safe to,
don't ever put yourself in that kind of a space. Yeah.
To sit at a table. So I think that's all I wanted to kind of mention.
Okay.
Was
I'm sorry. See, I'm always the long story girl.
No, it's good. It's good because I mean, you gave a little bit more depth to your understanding of that. And I totally am in line with all that. And I just wanted to be mindful that, I don't want anybody, not that anyone's taking our advice, but
right.
I wouldn't want anyone to think like, oh, like I'm going to go back to this abusive relationship, whether it's, family, whether it's a lover or a friend or whatever, sometimes you might need a little bit more space, or that you might not be in the right space. And Philip is sharing or emotionally stay safe as well. If you can't show up in the space in a way in which you really would want or like, then, it's perfectly acceptable to decide, today is not the day. Today is not the day. I can't, I just can't.
Yeah, I totally get that too. I have days like that.
Right. And we'll be like, okay, I'm not going to make it this year, but maybe next year. Or, I don't feel comfortable going to dinner with all of you, but, I'd love to go have coffee with you one-on-one at some point. Or, you know what I mean? Like there might be those sorts of situations in order to kind of negotiate a space that you could feel you both, hopefully, and if it's more than two people, could be in a space in which you all can just fully be present and a little vulnerable with one another, and and then be able to move forward in probably better relationship with each other.
And I don't know if I need to, but I just want to clarify. This isn't a conversation I would have with someone random. I would only come and put myself in an uncomfortable table from people that I love, people that I am automatically in relation, like my family, those people who are closest to me. I'm not going to go up to a strange table full of people that have no bearing on my life and be vulnerable in that capacity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just a quick clarification. So it wouldn't be that type of a situation, because there are going to be people that we're going to engage or have come in and out of our lives that are really going to have no bearing on who we are, other than that initial or that limited contact that we choose to have with them. But they're not going to dictate my successes and my failures.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we're definitely talking about like more intimate
family.
family or
intimate.
Whether it's chosen family or the family that we're
exactly
blessed to be born into, or or whatever.
Exactly.
Yes.
So okay, so now what?
I know. What else do we want to talk about today? I feel like we hit a wall. I wanted to acknowledge, I'm sorry, Liz, and Christine. I wasn't paying attention to the comments when you said hello, and when you said comments about Tina's tree. I'm just going to bring them up on the screen there.
Thank you so much for that.
So thank you, Christine and Elizabeth. You two have been around enough to know that these sorts of things happen with us.
Yeah.
I know I'm having one of those days where it's like my top isn't staying up in the right way, but I'm not up high enough, and the sun is starting to come in on me, and it's like, girl, are you brand new?
I know.
All this stuff going on for me.
It's funny. I think this is just us really being real this time. If you wanted a perfect broadcast, you wouldn't be listening to us.
Yeah, they wouldn't. They would have left after the first episode. So they might have gave us 2 episodes, but definitely after
maybe. Maybe that's. But we sure enjoy we enjoy talking together, and we enjoy the comments that you guys give or share with us. And again, we want to have valid conversations. If there's things that you want to know about our relationship, about who we are, our aspirations in life. I mean, those are all things that we are willing to share. So the things that we're working on, the things that we hold dear, and we're open and we're willing to share. And we are choosing to not be offended of anything that you would ask or even converse with us about, and we would ask that you do the same. But we are more than happy to share with whatever. And I know the holidays can be hard for people, and I've been pretty spoiled over the years, and I know that I am blessed.
Yeah, and Christine says, "You want to read it?"
No, go ahead.
All right. Christine says, "Some of those relationships we deeply value, but may be broken in some way, even toxic. It's important to step back and be strategic in how we come back to the table. I like the suggestion, Bonnie, of maybe one-on-one for coffee instead of a big group."
Yeah. I
And
agree.
I think the other thing that we've mentioned before was just like, if it's a family, like if it's I think if you can, stay somewhere else too. If it's longer than, like, if you're going to, say, visit your family for a couple, 3 days, and maybe you usually stay with family members, maybe it might be a good idea not to, just so that you can have that space to recharge, center, pray, whatever it is that you do, so that you can kind of show up in a way that you want to show up. Because it's so easy for me to get stuck in my old patterns. I call it, I go into my default mode where I just click back into being that person that I was before, that I told myself I wasn't going to be. And sometimes I just need to be able to step away and like remind myself, this is why I'm here. This was my intention. And this is not okay. So like, you need to step away, do your stuff so you can come back. 'Cause it can be hard when you're just surrounded all the time.
Yeah. That's key. And sometimes that can be hard. That's a hard step sometimes when people are used to you staying with them, especially. So, but it's okay. Stick to your guns.
Yeah, sometimes people want to take offense, or they want to say, "Oh, why don't you want to stay with me?" You know, things like that. And it's like, I just I'm making this decision. Like it doesn't have to be like, because you drive me crazy and I need to be able to escape for a few hours. No.
Yeah.
Might not be the best way to. I mean, you might have some people that you're in a relationship with that you can say that, like, I just need some personal time so that I can,
just tell them you want to run around the house naked. They'll get it.
They'll be like, okay, yeah, please stay somewhere else. Yeah. I did want to update, like, one of the reasons why, I've talked about not being in conversation with some people that I've wanted to. And this weekend, I started being in conversation with someone that I've been really challenged with being in conversation with. And I'm excited about that. I felt like my intention was different, which was great. I did feel like I've kind of fell into a little bit of a default at times, but for the most part, it was an hour conversation. So it was well. Good. Yes. And I know it's just the beginning of us, building a better relationship in which I can just be a better person in. So I'm excited about it.
That's awesome.
And Philly says, I like that word, strategic. It's good to have a plan. Yeah,
I agree. I'm a planner. I'm definitely a planner.
I think a plan is good, but also, I think the thing that's helpful, because I'm somebody who, like, I know how it's all going to play out. So I come up with all these scenarios. And so I think there's also that idea of, like, be open to the possibility that something different might happen than what you assume or what you think as well. The strategy as far as, like, having a place to go back and forth to, that sort of stuff is good. But I think also being able to be like, to just be like, you know what, I don't know. Maybe something different will happen than what I had thought would. And oftentimes that's the truth. Usually it's
and that's part of the strategy. that you're sharing, is to have some flexibility and some openness, but don't forget to also have boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and that flex
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's cool. Yeah, I'm a planner.
With folks who are listening now, do you have any? We have just a few more minutes before we close. Do you have any
Oh, yeah.
questions or things that you would like for us to talk a little bit more on?
Or just things you want to share that we can read and share with everybody.
Yeah, it's been nice just to like these last couple of episodes. We're just, I feel like we've set the ground, so to speak, so everyone kind of understands where we're at, where we can just get on here and have a conversation and
Yeah.
just kind of catch up and talk about what we want to talk about.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I don't see anyone jumping at questions or anything like that. So I think it would be.
I have a question.
Oh,
where did you get that fabulous eyeshadow?
the eyeshadow.
Yeah,
So,
I love that shimmery silver that you have
mhm.
in the small part of your eye. That is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. So it was. Most of my makeup is gifted. Like I haven't
Oh,
really bought much. So
or maybe you
my
need to be gifted something.
right. My roommate shared with me an Anastasia Beverly Hills makeup is the kind of
Oh,
chartreuse yellow color, and then the silver is that as well.
wow, it's
And then
beautiful.
the pink is a different palette as well. But yeah, I'm happy with the eye color, the eyes today.
Yeah, it looks really nice. It looks sometimes I can't see your eyes open a lot, and
Yeah.
this is just perfect because I can see your eyes. I can see all the detail that you've done. Anyway, it looks nice. So I just
Yeah.
had to ask the question.
No, thank you. I'm still learning. So, it's like, and some days I get it right. And then the next day I'm like, well, it looked so good last week.
I hear you. I hear you. But your makeup always looks good.
Thank you. Hi, Jen. Jen
Hi,
says, hi,
Jen.
Bonnie Violet. Jen here. I just tuned in. Welcome. You're getting here just at the tail end, but that's okay
Yeah.
because this video will live here forever, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Or at least until something happens to Facebook or
True.
YouTube, whatever you're watching us on. Yeah. So, and for folks who maybe you're just getting to know us, we do have, this is our 11th episode. We just have one more episode of this season.
Wow.
So next Monday will be our last podcast for, this season. I think we're going to take probably maybe a 4 to 6 week kind of break, maybe longer. We haven't really decided yet. And then
I can't
we'll
believe it's been 11 weeks already.
I
Oh my
know,
goodness.
crazy.
It
I
is
mean,
crazy.
next week will be 12 weeks, which is 3 months, which is, that's a
Wow.
good chunk of time for like behavior to change too.
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Mm-hmm. Christine says, my son says they are Trixie Mattel eyes. We love it. Yes.
Ah, yes.
That's not quite as bold as Trixie, but yes, definitely. Thank you. It's helpful that I'm using the whites now. I paint the white underneath and it just kind of opens the eyes a little bit more.
Well, next time I see you, you'll have to give me a little bit of a lesson.
A little bit of a lesson. Well, I can paint you like a drag queen. I don't know about.
Well, we'll have to find a compromise there somewhere.
Right. Just kind of settle it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Jen. Jen says, Bonnie, you're beautiful. Oh, you guys are giving me so much love this morning.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. So, and also so if you're watching us, you can watch the videos, but also if listening is better, you can find us on anywhere you listen to a podcast by searching Splintered Grace. You can even scream at Alexa, hey, Alexa, Splintered Grace podcast, and we'll come up, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. I should try that on my Alexa.
Right. Thanks, Philly. My style is on point. I definitely have a point of view all my own, huh? Yeah.
Oh, you wear it well.
Well, thanks. It's been nice to be in a point in which I can feel like I can be open to trying new things without it like taking away from like my personality. Like, I don't know, there's like this part of like trying to find who I am and how I want to represent myself. and not wanting to like take on other people's stuff. But it's been really great to be in a space where it's like, you know, I know who I am. I'm comfortable with who I am. And so I'm going to try this. And I'm going to try that. I'm going to see what works, what didn't work. This little like halter top looking thing is not going to work in a show again. But hey, that's how we learn, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you want to take us out, Tina?
Sure. You guys, thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing here. We hope it brings you some joy, maybe a few laughs, and hopefully, prayerfully, opportunity to connect with someone that you miss and someone that you love. Enjoy your holiday, however you choose to embrace it. Do something fun. Do something different. And if you're finding that reach out to someone. Just reach out to someone and say hello. Maybe someone you haven't connected with in a while. Yeah. Send them a text.
And if it's a difficult time, you know, acknowledge that it is for you. And if you're able to reach out to someone and tell them about it, or plan on taking care of yourself in some way, you know?
Yeah. Do something fun for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So awesome. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Love you all. I'm going to play that outro. And we'll see you next week. Take care, Tina.
Bye, everybody. I love you too. I can't get my camera right.
Splintered Grace Podcast is brought to you by a queer chaplain. Follow us on all of our social medias, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at a queer chaplain. Listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Feel free to tip us at Venmo, Bonnie Violet, and support monthly on Patreon. The song is original by Steven Sandnoff, The Chasm Between Us. Rest in peace, Steve.